Hello, it's my first video on fantasy football and specifically focusing on sleepers and busts for your upcoming draft. We're going to start off with the sleepers. First off is Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Mahomes is entering his second season in the NFL. Last year, he did not play too much. I think he played one game, and he was alright. He wasn't outstanding, but he was alright. But this year, I think he'll be really good because Alex Smith is now on the Washington Redskins. And he's got really nice targets in Travis Kelce, one of the better tight ends in the league, Tyreek Hill, a very nice deep threat, and newly acquired receiver Sammy Watkins, who can be really good at times. The second sleeper is Mitch Trubisky. Now, Trubisky, unlike Mahomes last year, started most of the season and did alright, wasn't spectacular, but was alright with not great receivers. But this year, he could be really good because of his much improved wideouts, including new receiver Allen Robinson and new tight end Trey Burton, who you will be seeing later in this video. And with great running backs Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. Now, to start off the running backs for sleepers is going to be Chris Carson. Now, Chris Carson could be really good earlier in the season, mostly because Rashad Penny, the rookie that they drafted, I don't think he'll be ready at the beginning of the season. Now that leaves Chris Carson to be the starting running back. Why he could be good is because he was doing really well last season until he injured his leg in the middle of the season, and then he couldn't play for the rest of the season. Now, just a little warning about Carson is that once Rashad Penny is ready, they might give him less attempts or runs or opportunities, meaning that his fantasy value will go down. So if you are going to draft him, just beware of Rashad Penny. Doesn't mean you need to draft Penny also, just beware of him. Well, Isaiah Crowell comes to the Jets after leaving Cleveland. And he was not great last year. A lot of people thought he'd be really good, but he really wasn't. This year, I think he'll be much better, mostly because he doesn't have too much competition. Bilal Powell's pretty good, but he's mostly used for pass catching. And Elijah McGuire, there is really mostly a work in progress. So Isaiah Crowell's the clear number one running back in New York, and with the inconsistent quarterback who really nobody knows who's going to start week 1, he could be pretty good. Juju Smith-Schuster is the next sleeper. So Juju really came out as a surprise last year. Nobody really expected him to be good as a 3rd, 4th, 5th rounder last year. But now he is the second best receiver on a very good Steelers team, and they do pass it a lot. And Antonio Brown getting lots of targets because he's one of the best receivers in the league. Juju's gonna get a lot of targets, mostly because they don't have a third great receiver, but it's gonna be him and Antonio, and we all know Antonio Brown's very good, but Juju might end up being very good also. Now Mike Williams is up next. Now Mike Williams was the number 7 overall draft pick last year, but he did not get to play too much last year because he was hurt. Now, since he was the number 7 overall draft pick, you would think he would have at least some talent, and he will have lots of opportunities to show that talent. Why? Because he is the second best receiver on the Los Angeles Chargers behind Keenan Allen. And the Chargers really do like to pass with Phillip Rivers, and also he'll be the number 1 red zone target because of Hunter Henry's injury in preseason, or in practice. Because of that, he'll be getting probably lots of touchdowns, which is very helpful for fantasy. Now, Trey Burton is the sleeper for tight ends. Now, Trey Burton was on the Philadelphia Eagles and won the Super Bowl and Super Bowl LII, but has changed teams to Chicago Bears. Now, in Philadelphia, he did not play too much. He only started 2 games, maybe. Those were the games that Zach Ertz was hurt, but in those 2 games, he had 7 catches, 112 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is very good. Now, that's only 2 games, and it's not exactly very much evidence that he's very good, but he seems like he could be really good, and the Bears are like an exciting team this year with Allen Robinson, Mitch Trubisky, Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard. Like, they should be a really good, young, exciting team, and I think Trey Burton will be very good on that team. Now, I decided to do a sleeper defense, and I have decided that the Texans will be the sleeper defense. Now, the Texans lost J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, and Whitney Mercilus all last year. They missed not too much of the season, but they missed a good amount. This year, they got all 3 of those guys returning, plus Deshaun Watson, who will help the defense because they'll be getting further down the field and not as many punts to give bad positions to the defense. And that will always help. Plus, J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Whitney Mercilus, that's very good. Like, a very good defense. That's all the sleepers, and next up is busts. First bust is Dak Prescott. Now, Dak Prescott lost Dez Bryant and Jason Witten and replaced them with Allen Hurts. So, the Dallas Cowboys will be running a lot with Ezekiel Elliott and maybe even a few runs with Dak Prescott, but if Dak Prescott's going to be good, you're going to really have to rely on his legs and probably rely on Allen Hurts being a wide receiver 1, which is highly unlikely. So Russell Wilson's up next. Now, Russell Wilson is a great quarterback skill-wise, and he would be one of the better quarterbacks in the league skill-wise. Yet, he does not have a great receiving core after Doug Baldwin. His running backs are a little iffy in Chris Carson and Rashad Penny, the rookie, and his offensive line is absolutely garbage. So there's a very high chance that he gets hurt this year, but if he's lucky enough to not get hurt, I don't know if he'll be that great this year. Next is LeSean McCoy. Now, LeSean McCoy, like Russell Wilson, is another greatly skilled player. It'll be a very good player, but yet again, not a great offensive line, especially after A.J. McCarron's injury. The quarterback situation, nobody really knows whether it's Josh Allen or Nathan Peterman. So he's going to get a lot of carries, but with a meh offensive line, it could be very hard to get yards and touchdowns. Now, Carlos Hyde is up. Now, Carlos Hyde went from being on the 49ers to the Browns this year, and he should be the number 1 running back at least earlier in the season. But with Duke Johnson being for sure the 3rd down back, and Nick Chubb, a great young player who might end up overtaking the number 1 running back spot later in the season, like, he's got to play very well early in the season, and he hasn't played lately in his career. So, I don't know about Carlos Hyde. He could be pretty good, but it doesn't look very great right now. Now, Alshon Jeffrey had a very, very solid last season. But this year, he's not going to be that good this year, I think. Mostly because he has a torn rotator cuff in his shoulder, and he might be ready for week 1. And even if he is ready and plays all 16 games, which is unlikely, he has Mike Walls, Nelson Aguilar, and Marcus Wheaton to share targets, plus young guys who are looking to get targets in Matt Collins and Shelton Gibson. So he's going to not get as many targets as he did last year, and he's going to be hurt for at least maybe week 1. So Brandon Cooks is up next. Now, Brandon Cooks was a little disappointing in New England, but he played alright. But this year, I don't think he'll be very good. So, first of all, he goes from having Tom Brady to Jared Goff, a pretty big downgrade. Not that Jared Goff's bad, it's just that it was Tom Brady, now it's Jared Goff. Another reason is he's surrounded by a lot of receivers that are looking to get some touches, including Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Josh Reynolds, Mike Thomas, and another speedster, Pharoh Cooper. And the third reason is the Rams have one of the best running backs in the league in Todd Gurley, who should, who deserves a lot of touches. So it's not a lot of opportunities for Cooks to be good, but I think he'll be a lot worse than the days that he had in New Orleans and even New England. Next up is Kyle Rudolph. Now, Kyle Rudolph had a decent season, not bad, but it was a lot worse than 2016. He went from having 840 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 83 catches to 532 yards, 8 touchdowns, but only 57 catches. What that means is that Kyle Rudolph is really he's touchdown reliant. If he's going to have a good game, he's got to score a touchdown. He's dropped down in catches, dropped down in targets, dropped down in yards, and that's mostly because of Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, the Vikings have good receivers now. They don't really need Kyle Rudolph to get too many yards. They just need to get a few touchdowns. So, for fantasy-wise, that is not good. So, yeah, don't draft Kyle Rudolph. The Legion of Boom is over. The Seahawks lost Michael Bennett, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, and Jeremy Lane, another corner. And they still have Bobby Wagner of the Legion of Boom and Earl Thomas, but he's a little mad. But it's not. The Seahawks defense will not be good this year. Yes, I love Shaquem Griffin and I love Shaquille Griffin, but I do not think they're going to be that good this year. Maybe next year, maybe. But for this year, do not draft the Seahawks defense. Thank you for listening, and leave any comments or suggestions down below for what I should do next video, whether it's fantasy football or Madden or whatever. And please leave a like down below, and thank you. Bye.